Bristol Development Authority regular monthly meeting in order. Is there any public participation?
Oh, you gotta turn that on.
Is that on?
No.
The lights on?
There's lights on.
You try to
Nobody's home.
share with Mike.
Better? Call the meeting to order. Is there any public participation? No? Okay. Motion to approve the minutes of the regular BDA meeting held June 26, 2017.
One correction. The date on it is, the date should say June 26th on the copy. It says May 22nd, it should be June 26th.
Only copies. Good catch.
So motion made with correction.
As revised.
As read.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4, correspondence communications. Mr. Malley?
Motion to place on file.
Yeah.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Just honestly, every month we want to give you the media coverage. We have a couple of more recent articles, honestly, that have occurred since we mailed out the packet. And then we'll get into the downtown incentives and the tax increment financing under the downtown committee update.
Any questions for Mr. Malley? Okay. New business by staff.
So the first item here is the Start of Bristol update. So by this time, I think most of you have probably heard or read about the Start of Bristol competition and the results of that. So the task force worked very hard, started with 30 applications for that program, whittled it down to 11, and then to 5 finalists. Of those 5, 3 were selected by the task force to win, or have the opportunity to win grant awards. I say that because each company, they will not receive grant funds unless they actually do locate in Bristol if they're not here already. So the first place and a $50,000 grant went to a company called Movia. Movia is very sort of innovative company with proprietary patented technology. Essentially what they do is they produce software that's utilized through robotics, through robots, to help teach children with disabilities, most frequently autism. So really exciting company. The CEO, Adam Von Guten, is someone that I've known for years, and he's very excited about the company and the prospect of growing here in Bristol. So, they're a startup in Bristol, so they applied just like the other companies, and they did well. A company called Farmington River Holdings took second place. I was a big fan of this company. We don't vote as staff members, but we obviously know about the companies and know about their applications. This company it's a holding company, and actually the Farmington River Holdings is out to purchase actually additional companies and bring them into Bristol, believe it or not. But the first company that they're looking to bring into the city, or they applied to bring into the city, is this company called Earmark. And I don't know if they're going to keep the name because they just purchased Earmark. It was about to dissolve the company. And Earmark makes these designs and manufactures these sort of communication headsets that they allow folks to communicate with each other, obviously in real time, in very high noise level, almost volatile environments, like out in an oil rig somewhere, like in the middle of the ocean, or some manufacturing environments can be very, very loud. But as an example, I have to communicate with, Charlie's at the front of the line, I'm back here, and we have to communicate in order to get our jobs done. Military has many uses for their technology as well, so that was a cool company. And then the Northeast Food Truck Festivals of New England was selected by the task force for third place, and they're a successful sort of event planning outfit out of Plymouth. I think that's where they are now. And they plan these sort of elaborate food truck festivals, obviously, that have done really well. Ani, what was the one they did? They just did the Muzzy Field, the barbecue one, but the one in, was it Goshen?
Yeah, the hot air balloon.
Yeah. So these things are getting like 70,000 people at the event, and they've proved very successful in what they do, and they'd like to open up an office and a storefront even. So those are the three companies that took home prizes. Movia's, they've got about 4 or 5 full-timers right now. They're looking to grow to 10 over the course of the next 16 months. So, Ani, do you have anything to add to that?
They're the ones that are actually located in Bristol. They're up on Federal Hill.
Yeah.
So,
Ani, gotta thank Ani for this. Like, Ani took this ball and ran with it for startup. She's been absolutely terrific for this. Calms me down when I freak out about like things like putting on that event. Ani just laughs at me, but we need that. So thanks, Ani, for that. And I talked with the newspaper about this, but we're trying to brand, Mark was behind this, but to brand Startup Bristol a little bit and create it, not so it's a once a year sort of event, but so it's more throughout the year, almost a culture to create, workshops and various support services for startups. So hopefully Startup Bristol can become not just a once a year event, but more of like a year-long effort. Yeah.
Any questions? Item 5B, the SEBBP update.
Yeah, so that's the Southeast Bristol Business Park update. I think what we need to talk about as a board here are recently at the council level, city council meetings, twice I think at this point, a member of the Dudko family has approached that podium and talked with the city councilors about the possibility of a plaque or other sort of permanent symbol of gratitude, honestly, towards the Dudko and Boogerin families, as I understand it, in regards to their former homestead, and which now obviously is owned by the city, and we have our Southeast Bristol Business Park. So the mayor or the council, the last time that it was addressed, suggested the BDA board sort of take this up and think about it and be able to address it. So, well, Dave, you're on the city council. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, one of the council members proposed that consideration be given to a plaque to the Bugren family. Many of you remember what happened a bunch of years ago, probably 15 years ago now, where the city decided to pursue eminent domain as a course of action against the families who lived on the property, at least now the Southeast Industrial Park. And it was a prolonged and protracted battle, both politically and legally. And Mr. Bugren is a frequent participant at council meetings, and he's taking a very aggressive stand, oftentimes reminiscing about what happened 15 years ago. So a younger, let's say, or less experienced council member brought it up, and the mayor asked asked this board to consider whether or not it makes some sense to have a plaque about on that property, about saying it's a former homestead of the Buglins, and whatever we come up with.
So does anyone want to speak to that?
I'm opposed. And I think the councilman is very polite in how he puts it. I think it would be rewarding bad behavior. Let's put eminent domain aside, because that can be negotiated back and forth. People could be talking about it. That was a law at the time. The city took advantage of the law, and they were compensated. Whether we want to say it's good or bad, they were compensated more than fairly. In fact, the city originally, and correct me if I'm wrong, the city originally wanted to give them more money. They wanted more money. They went to arbitration. The arbitrator said not only was the offer from the city fair, but they actually lowered it. So they were compensated. It would have been one thing after that if they would have said, okay, we disagree with this, but it's over. It has never been over. People have been insulted, people have been threatened, people have been, and it just goes on and on. To me, it would be rewarding bad behavior, and I would oppose it.
Through the chair, I think it's, might be setting precedent we have to be careful about. If you think about it, we also have 2 new middle schools, Green Hills and West Bristol. And in order to build both of those schools, there were properties taken also, maybe not through eminent domain because it was done through a normal sale, purchase, negotiation, and it never got to the point of eminent domain. Regardless of how the property is taken, do we set a precedent and then owe those folks plaques at Green Hills and plaques at West Bristol? I just think we're opening up, and I understand where the family's coming from with the industrial park. I do. I just think we'd be setting a precedent, and we'll be in the plaque manufacturing business as we've done it for other properties.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to think about a motion to address that specific request? Do you want to think about a longer-term policy? What are you thinking?
Well, I gave Commissioner Rivers what we're presenting for consideration tonight is a general motion that Mr. Malley came up with in consultation with others here regarding maybe putting something on the books regarding how we would, in the future, take a look at these types of requests, so at least we would have some foundation from which we could work. Commissioner?
Yep.
The motion reads to establish a policy of the BDA that for BDA administered property, any and all permanent plaques or other symbols of honor or gratitude are reserved for city commissions and city staff that contribute to the project and for individuals and or organizations that donate property to the city.
Second.
We have a motion and a second discussion.
Do you want
I like the language. It's something that is it's general, but it's also very rewarding in terms of its scope. I think it's broad enough that we can acknowledge a number of entities or organizations, families, for contributions. We could wordsmith this.
it's just designated just for BDA administered property, don't forget. So, obviously that's what this board is here to do, and that's limited, right? So we have a couple industrial parks, but I just thought it was something to throw out there based on some comments.
But I do, and I agree, and I think this is pretty general, pretty broad. It obviously does not approve what's in front of us right now. It just kind of sets the ground rules. But again, from a city standpoint, to me, it doesn't matter whether it's BDA, Board of Education, Public Works. The logo of the city of Bristol is still stamped on that property. So if the BDA, if we as the BDA are going to reward and give out plaques for properties, we should be consistent throughout the whole city, and it should be a citywide proposal, not just BDA.
So obviously we don't have the authority to implement something like that. So the alternative would be to, if the board agrees with Mike, to sort of, we don't have to vote on this tonight. It's just an idea to throw out to get you all discussing and thinking about it. So what do you think?
Well, I'm thinking is the commissioners haven't even seen the language. Maybe what we do is we hand this out to everybody, so you can take a look, review it, see if everybody takes these things differently in terms of approach. Some people like to wordsmith, make it. Mike brings up a great point. I think we have jurisdiction over BDA stuff, but we could recommend to the council, as Mike is, on a citywide policy that would emanate from us as a BDA board. So, I don't know if you have pride of authorship where we can just get this around there.
Never. No, feel free to.
Well, we get that to everybody.
Yeah.
Based on some of the conversations
it's well worded. I like the part about how they contributed to, whether they've donated or, they've sold property, or I think it's well written.
Yeah. I think you want to be careful about, you know, let's address what the BDA has control over at this point.
Well, we could set a foundation for the rest of the city as well.
You could,
The foundation and consistency can start here.
Well, that's a good point.
just let others,
Kind of consistency.
Yeah, that's well said.
Right, there's a motion on the table.
We have a motion and we have a second.
Right, so I don't know what you wish to proceed on that, whether you want to withdraw the motion and continue the topic to another meeting.
What's our pleasure?
Unless you want to vote on it. I think there's two things.
Right.
This addresses going forward, and if you're asking for someone to put a motion in about the business park, that to me would be a separate issue. We would
Right.
vote on that separately.
That would be a separate issue.
So I mean, I don't know what other, I would vote, I'd be ready to vote on this. The wording seemed very fine and it covered.
Can we vote on the motion at hand? Is everybody
You can
comfortable
call it
with
because you have a motion in a second.
Is that what we did? Well, we're in discussion.
Yeah, I mean, so you could see if anybody's opposed to it.
All right. All in favor of the motion as presented?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
So now how do we, through the chair, I'm sorry, how do we deal with if you're
So
asking us in general, Justin, I mean, you could poll people.
yeah, I mean, you all, if you feel comfortable, you can vote on a specific issue, right, that was moved here from the council. By approving that motion there, in a way, is indicative of your thoughts on the first issue, but you can, just to address it individually, vote on the Dudco and Booger and families request that was brought up at the council. It's up to you all.
Is there a way that the PD office can get us bullet points, just as a historical kind of history of when it started, when it ended, how it, that type of...
We can get you,
that type of
we can get you info on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we can get that to you next month. What you just
We all have
approved.
an idea of what happened and how it happened and all that, but it's been a while.
Mhm.
I think it's just having something in writing for us to review makes some sense.
Okay, yeah.
I
Any
think
thoughts
I
on
was-
that?
Yeah, I think I was probably younger, not paying attention when all that was going on. So.
Yeah. So we can do that. We can get back with a,
Me too, you know?
we could get with court counsel for their help and maybe getting some info just down for you all to look at next month, and then we can revisit.
So without putting a motion forward,
Mhm.
could we table that
Table-
item?
table
until
that.
until we have more fact, especially folks like that may not be aware of everything that went on and transpired.
Sure. Can do that.
Well, motion to table the discussion until we get a write-up from the...
So moved.
Second.
We have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's go back a second, because we need a motion, I think, to approve the Startup Bristol update.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Motion was, yeah. It's already up. Motion's already up.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
And now for the Southeast Bristol Business Park, a
Yeah.
motion to approve the report.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And any discussion? Motion carried. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number C, Brownfields update.
Yeah, so, it's just, I watch Dawn work so hard on coordinating the brownfields every day that want to bring it up just for updates once in a while at the BDA board meeting. So I guess the two hot ones are 894 Middle Street and the J.H. Sessions Building on Riverside Avenue. So 894 Middle Street, wetlands approval was last week. Yeah. So Dawn worked with our consultant, Novus Engineering, to apply for and seek a wetlands approval because there's going to be some work that's going to have to be done in wetlands at 894 Middle Street as part of the remediation. So Dawn secured that. And then we also, believe it or not, need to seek wetlands approval from the town of Southington because part of the wetlands goes into the Southington. So Dawn's coordinating that as well. We'll see. Maybe next month we'll have an update on that one. And then we're in, so the the cleanup for 894 Middle Street, essentially, our engineer drafted and submitted a plan of cleanup to the state DEEP, Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, and to EPA, the feds as well, because of the level of contamination on the property. So we're currently waiting to hear back on their approval, but that's obviously very important. Once we get their approval, we'll lock up that second wetlands approval. We might have to work with Army Corps a little bit on wetlands as well. We can get forward, we can get going with the cleanup. I think spring is probably the date that we're looking at. It's just so many moving parts to this sort of stuff, but Dawn's been working hard on it. And from the development side, right, we're still in regular communication with Fuel Cell Energy out of Danbury. They have their own work to do at the state level. And then the potential for development on the front part of the site that fronts Middle Street is incredible. We're not really at a point where we can start to market that property very widely, but the interest will be there. I mean, that's prime land in the city of Bristol, so we can't wait to be able to market that to the world. So that's 894 Middle Street. Sessions, really quickly, Jade Sessions property. We finished the phase 3 on that using state of Connecticut funds. And then we did something that was good. We were working with a gentleman named Arthur Bogan and his land bank. I don't know if I brought this up last time, but Arthur Bogan is sort of a legend in the brownfields development world in Connecticut. Arthur has been working with the city for years and years and years on our various brownfields. Arthur has done something great. He's created the Connecticut Brownfield Land Bank, which is an organization that essentially is out there to help municipalities like us market and develop. They can take title to these brownfields, but essentially it's a really, really complicated world out there to develop brownfields, and Arthur and the land bank are a really welcome resource for the city. So we're working with Arthur. He has at least one developer interested in sessions that he's working with. We're going to get some architecturals pretty shortly on what different sorts of development on that building would look like. And that's key to marketing the property developer. So that's a project that's moving forward. These brownfields are slower, but still we're moving in the right direction. So I just wanted to give you that update. And Dawn, anything? Yeah.
Two questions. What's the total acreage on the Middle Street project?
17.17.
And where were these solar company being located?
In the back.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Fuel cell company. but,
Fuel cell,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I'll make a motion to accept the report from Brownfields update.
We have a motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Facade improvement?
Yeah, so I wanted to talk, we talked last month about, we closed out our facade improvement program. Ani was running it at this point, but we received funds from the state of Connecticut years and years ago, and we're using the last just remaining bits and pieces of that funding to run a facade improvement program, and we've been able to help a lot of different storefronts and building owners out in the downtown and the West End areas improve the look of their properties, right? Bristol Press is the most recent project, but we've helped done Funeral Home, we've helped Redmond's Trailers, a complete transformation, and a lot of businesses with their signage and some other things. So I thought I'd throw it out to the board, and we don't need an answer tonight. And I'm good with whatever the thoughts are. It's just one of those things I might pick your brain a little bit about it, but we have the opportunity to continue that program, albeit it would be using city funds. We have an economic development fund that we're able to draw on, and primarily it's a fund that's used for those mayor's economic development grants that we give out to companies. It funds that funds Startup Bristol as well. But the opportunity is there if the board thinks it's worth looking into. For staff to go to the Mayor's Economic Development Committee to request funds to continue the facade improvement program. we're going to be talking more about incentives for downtown. The facade improvement thing is just one other element of that. That can help, it's a curb appeal thing, that can help improve the look of the downtown area, and maybe help businesses out with their frontage. Just a thought, I just see what you all think, any thoughts on that?
I would be okay with it if it was through this whole city and not just downtown.
So not limiting it, yeah.
Yeah, also through the chair,
Yeah.
I think if we had something targeted, I'd hate to identify resources and then not use them or tie them up when they could be results.
Like if something were to come up.
If something were to come
Yeah.
up, but if we have something downtown that's targetable and there's an interest on our part as well as the building owner or what have you, I think it's worth it.
Yeah. The only, I get this city-wide thing, but, I'll give an example. Route 6, right? There are elements of this city, there are areas of this city where we want our businesses to go onto Route 6, right? But Route 6, when we're talking about using city funds for incentives, Route 6 has the traffic counts there. They have a little bit of a head start. The idea about focusing incentives downtown would be to try to level the playing field a little bit, because that's the problem, is that we have a lot of businesses that are interested in opening up at Route 6 and won't even consider downtown. So if we had that extra incentive built in. That said, we're working on other incentives downtown too, so.
So, just through the chair, but I think there are other areas, whether it's Riverside Avenue, there are other I can see your point on.
So maybe we can
I
expand,
think we just want to be more
but not
flexible.
citywide.
But have the flexibility. Just because you go citywide doesn't mean, I like what what Bob was saying about, being able to target a certain area and saying, hey, we're going to open up, facade type money, and just be able, so that, downtown gets a lot of attention, as it should, but I think we want to be a little bit more flexible, and like Riverside Avenue or Forestville, there are areas that I think that could benefit from,
So maybe what we can do is staff come back to you all with a plan to expand it and add some additional areas besides just the downtown and West End. Maybe not citywide, but to your point, Forestville or Riverside Avenue. What do you all think? We'll come back to you with it. We'll come back with a map and
let's see what it would look
sort of flesh it out a little bit. Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Motion to accept the facade improvement report.
Move a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Justin, what do you want to, because we're going to lose Tom, I think, and Mickey, can we move into, I don't know where you plan to talk about the incentives for the downtown committee. Was that part of the downtown committee?
Yes, downtown committee.
Can we move that
Move it
up on
up.
the agenda?
Yeah.
Can we motion to move up the downtown committee?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Because we're going to lose two people who I think are critical to the thought process here. Justin, you want to,
Sure, yeah, so I'll start, you help me out. So the downtown committee met on Thursday, and one of my charges for that meeting was to just throw onto the table some potential business and development incentives for Center Square and for downtown, right? I think that we all, as a group, understand the importance of being able to provide incentives downtown, because like I think I just mentioned, we have challenges for downtown, right? We have access challenges, we have other challenges. So in order to begin to level the playing field a little bit, maybe we should be getting creative with our incentives. We have marketing now, Mark Thomas and the marketing group to take our incentives and blast them out to the world. We have Ani now that's on the ground.
is really designed for target businesses. Target meaning, based on the surveys we've done or some of the things we've done as feedback from residents about what they want to see downtown. The idea is for us to target existing businesses, whether it's in Bristol or surrounding towns, that are not startups, but successful businesses that we think could expand into Bristol. So, and I talked to Bob about this a few days ago, but the great word was we got to make sure we get this in a piece that's both saleable, effective, functional, and get the legs under it, right? So that we can go out there and sell. The idea is to target businesses that make some sense, who we could encourage through this incentive program to move downtown. And So, you know, as you guys know who have experience in small business, it's sometimes expanding from that first step to the next step, like hiring new people. That's a huge decision for a small, medium business person, right? These are the types of things. What, as far as commissioners, you know, we all have our spheres of influence, right? Our job, I would see it, is taking this, molding it into something that works, then going out there and selling it. And I'll give you an example, and we all have examples. Justin talked to a restaurateur recently, right? What does it take to get you to move downtown? My wife and I were in Manchester. We were at the spot. We both said to ourselves, this would be perfect for downtown. My idea would be take this, go make an appointment with the owner, say, listen, you know, what would it take for you to have a second location or a third, whatever it is, right? And that's the idea behind this grant program, to create something not for the developer, but for the business owner, the operational business that would complement anything that we would give to a developer.
I think the idea is what we're thinking about is these are obviously just ideas that you have on the paper, and they don't mean anything unless the development community agrees that they're attractive incentives, right? So what we're asking the BDA members is, you know, take these. I can get you them electronically, but if you know a restaurateur, right, or if you know a escape room entrepreneur, right, or whatever. In your everyday travels, bounce these off of those folks. And the trick is this. Almost every developer is going to want more, right? Whatever you offer them. So it's not necessarily, you're not pitching anyone. You're not saying, hey, Mr. Restaurateur or Mrs. Restaurateur, we want you in Bristol and here's what we offer. No. Say, listen, you work in this industry. I don't, right? From an industry perspective, what do you think about some of these things, right? This isn't a direct pitch to you, right? So then it gets them hopefully off the whole, hey, I want as much as I can get kind of thing. What's reasonable, right? If anything, maybe they think that we have a great economy downtown anyway, and we don't need to go this far. But that's how we want the real world thoughts on these incentives, because I work in the real world, but I don't call, you know, it's our municipal world, right? So what do you all think about maybe checking in maybe next month or the following and giving us any updates on these particular ideas and just having it as a discussion, like an ongoing discussion, because we have a little time to get this right. I don't know. What do you think?
Richard, I think this is huge. I really do. And each of us have our own sphere of influences, right? Where we know a lot of people in our business lives. And I think this is critical.
I think folks would appreciate it. It's not a direct pitch to anyone, but I think they'll remember the conversation. Honestly, that conversation with the restaurateur, I said, please understand, this is not a pitch to you. We just want to get your thoughts. And as we walked away, I said, they're going to remember that conversation, though. So hopefully it was a little bit of a pitch in itself. But
I talked to a economic development director recently from another town, which is pretty successful. And I said, you know, everybody starts someplace, right? Every development that's successful, every downtown that's successful starts someplace with a plan. And we're not talking about 5, 6, 7, 8 things. We're probably talking about maybe 2 or 3 incentive packages to get the ball rolling, right? Success breeds success. And he said, you know, he kind of led me this way, saying, this is what you got to do. You got to offer something to show that it's possible to be successful in that area that you're trying to promote. And if this is what it takes to level the playing field, this is what we're thinking about.
Sure, and I think it's critical just that we now have a marketing team in place. It's phenomenal right out of the gate, but it's got to be something that we continue to push and market, that Bristol will support Bristol business. And that has to be the theme to get somebody else to come. And we've got a lot of great locations, a lot of great things here. And we've got to be able to market the business idea of Bristol will support Bristol business.
And, you know, I have my thoughts about marketing just to Bristol businesses, right? Those folks who are, you know, somewhere else in the city and they're just not in their ideal location. They've always wanted to build something new or whatever. So the downtown committee is sort of expanding on that idea too. So it's a good point.
Through the chair, so Kevin, I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it also helps mitigate the fact retail has changed. I don't think any one of us would sit back and say, no, retail's the same. Retail has changed. And it's interesting. Sometimes you'll hear people who say, boy, I wish there was a Christmas tree shop there. But again, we don't fit the demographic. And it is very much about how do you attract people to take the risk? Because that's what an entrepreneur takes a risk, right? And so by saying that we'll be there with you, I mean, we can't pay for it all, but by giving incentives or motivate me and I'll do it, I think it's a great idea.
So let's just, maybe we'll just,
Yeah, so what would the action item be?
I don't
Are you
know.
looking to create some kind of that?
Look at it, revise it, add to it.
bounce it off, folks, and then let's come back maybe in August and just continue the discussion. You know, hey, listen, I talked with Bob. He's talked with 5 restaurants probably by then. You know, so you could give us, you know, any thoughts they might have or whatever. So we'll just keep it going that way.
You know, at minimum, this shows the game. Bristol's in a game. It shows you we're in a game.
Because it is a competition. I mean, if you go to Southington and as you come off the highway and you're at a light and you're looking across, they have a giant sign. It's, you know, Southington tax abatements, incentives, call this number. Again, it's a competition because there are going to be fewer opportunities because, again, retail has changed. And I think this is one way not only to level the playing field, but I think it gives us a bit of an advantage because if we're going to say we're open for business, now we're not only saying it, we're backing it up. So.
And we can get the word out with markets and
Great
stores.
idea.
All right, you guys gotta go. Is there any new business by commissioners, starting from my left? Commissioner Sear?
No.
Ms. Caldwell?
None.
No.
Old business by staff, program updates, Debbie?
Thank you. This time of year, we are wrapping up the year that we just finished, June 30th. I have to do an annual report that takes a couple of months to do the financial reconciliation and the various accomplishments and enter it into the computer system of the federal government. There are a multitude of other administrative functions to get ready for the new year that started July 1st. And we're still waiting to hear from the HUD as to whether they approve our annual plan. And we will, after that, be able to access the funds, which we can't as of today. And then I have for your report that David Segro did on our housing rehab for the year. And then it talks about the kind of rehabs that we've done, how many units. And then the second, the bottom half is about what's pending and what we're working on as of today. Any questions?
Any questions for Debbie?
Your report. Yeah, just over quick.
I thought this was your report.
Okay.
Any questions?
Motion to accept
Motion to accept.
program updates.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Economic development?
Before I go, Dawn, I promised Dawn a little pitch for this important program. Go ahead, Dawn.
Okay. And we're having a little bit of difficulty getting people to sign up for this program. So if you can help by spreading the word about it, it's any homeowner in Bristol that has a home that is built before 1985, or if a homeowner that doesn't have smoke alarms, let's be honest, anybody that needs a smoke alarm, have them call. There's information in here. The fire marshal is going to be at the West End Festival, and we're going to do a big media push for Fire Prevention Month, which is in October. We have we got a grant for $169,000, and we have only spent in homes. We had 4 fire fatalities recently. Everybody remembers that, right? So this is really important, so please help us get the word out. Thanks.
One question through the chair. So the fire department will actually come out and do the
Yes.
installation themselves?
Yeah.
Including the...
They're not just handing them out, they're going in and they're installing them. Yep.
Just so you know, too, the chief, Kolakowski, asked me to bring this up at the next council meeting.
Yes, please do.
We will. And
The chief went door to door in his neighborhood, knocked on doors, handed these out. I mean, we really need to do a big push, and we're going to try to send them out with every school child,
Oh, that's great.
send them home.
that's great idea. Get it to the realtors, maybe.
That's a good idea. I'm going to hand them to that guy over there.
And Mark's on this too, so we know Mark's gonna kill it in October, or in that event, the fire week.
We've already started, it'll be well before October.
Justin?
Right. So a lot of this I feel like we talked about already tonight. 229 Tech Park, we're getting Comcast. That's a big deal for those folks. I know that I put that in here, but for all these years, believe it or not, Comcast service for internet was not available in the 229 Park, and they've needed another choice for their high-speed internet, so everybody's happy about that. We talked about Startup Bristol. We actually talked about Brownfields. I probably talked enough tonight, so I think we're good. If anyone has any questions.
Motion to accept the economic development update.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have some discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for that. Old business by commissioner, starting on my left. Commissioner Seer.
None.
Mr. Walsh.
No.
Ms. Rivers.
None.
Ms. Hicks.
None.
Mr. Passano. Chair has none. Committee reports we've done downtown marketing committee.
Yeah. Mark, do you have a second to come to the podium, maybe do the marketing thing? Mickey, you could help us out?
You look too comfortable there, Mark. We got you checked.
No, I was trying to read my writing.
As usual.
I will make this brief. As far as digital metrics, for the first time in 7 months, our numbers went down very, very slightly. And that had to do with graduation, people starting to do their vacation planning. When we looked at the top 10 sites, it went away from blogs and the other things to what to do in Bristol, restaurants and events, which, it all makes sense. So I'm not worried about it. I think we're doing fine with that. The blogs have helped. We've done 4 blogs since we've talked last and have several more. One of them is about the fire alarm program to get out. A couple of new things. Deb didn't mention that we've updated the mini brochure for the residential housing rehabilitation program, so we should have those ready in a couple of weeks. I mean, it's a better look, I think, and I know that the information has changed since we had done that the last time, so that's been up. So David and Deb really helped me with that to get that done. Probably the big thing was we're going to have a new television show, and that's going to be on Nutmeg TV. A little bit different in the fact that we're not going to have just sitting and doing interviews. It's all going to be done in Bristol, about Bristol, and the hook of the program really is uniquely Bristol, about things that are hidden treasures here and what is unique about Bristol, and we're going to start that. Done all my updating on how to use the equipment, how to do the editing. We're going to shoot a pilot within the next couple of weeks. The first show will be about the Mum Festival and Lake Compounds, and then as you go through each of the months, because it is a monthly program, it's going to be about what's going on that month. So the idea is to let residents know what is going on, also to kind of stand out. The beauty of this is it's to use Nutmeg TV is just our time, so it should work out pretty well. That's about it for this one.
Any questions?
Just on behalf of the committee, and I mean, we do move generally they meet on a Friday, and we do some Thursday nights, but the committee, again, we are very fortunate. We talk about competition and everything like that. We are very fortunate to have this kind of a marketing effort with this type of a marketing professional, and we're very excited as a committee, and you can see the results. So keep it up.
Hey, Mark, can I ask you a question? What are you going to use for sources for that program? For people or events?
I've got the entire year planned out that I've gone through, like I said, and it's going to be, I didn't mention this, I hate to use this term, but It's 60-minute style. We're only half a minute, so it's going to be an open, a segment. We're going to put the Bristol kind of promotional video that we have on the website and then go to the last segment. So if you look at it, and each month has a theme. So the pilot show is going to be only in Bristol. So that's the Mum Festival with Jack Ferraro and people that are on the committee, Lake Compounds, a couple of people over there. So you get into September, it's about community leaders making a difference. So we're going to talk about the Principal of the Year with Peter Wenninger, and then also do entrepreneurs in Connecticut. So take a look at the companies that we talked about for Startup Bristol. October is changing of the season, so a taste of fall. Get a couple of the people in town that are chefs, about fall kind of culinary things, and get it ready for Thanksgiving. And then also experience fall in Connecticut, so go out to the Barnes Center and go through the hiking trails and talk to people out there. November is being thankful, so it's about the Parent and Child Center at Bristol Hospital, and then tips, tricks, and tarts. That would be for Thanksgiving dinner. December, holiday spirit, holidays on a budget, so we're going to find retailers who can give us shopping tips for you're going through to do Christmas and Hanukkah type things like that, and then traditions, about a segment on holiday foods.
That's excellent.
Thank you.
Great.
So again, Mark, Mark brought this idea, and then a couple days later he's got the year planned out. It's just the planning piece is awesome. It's fun to work with the marketing committee and stuff like this. Ani, of course, will be on the show. She's excited about that, and hopefully, actually, we'll get all of the BDA members involved. But this is a fun one.
Great. One quick question through the chair.
Sure.
Little League regionals. Do we have any footprint there with promoting local restaurants, food, that type of thing, to keep people in Bristol as opposed to heading to Farmington or Southington?
So I'm going to defer to Justin.
No, that's okay. So there's a changeover there in leadership, and during that changeover, we've definitely gotten with that group a couple of times. Mark's been out there a few times, and yep, they've been. We've communicated with them, and the mayor was nice enough to send a letter out encouraging them to promote the All Heart website. Because honestly, it's almost irresponsible for them and the city not to pump the All Heart website to those families. So we are encouraged. We're hoping for some promotion of the All Heart website by those groups. And again, it was a tough year. I think that for next year we're gonna have the time, I think, to make some inroads and do some different things there. But it was just sort of ran out of time a little bit.
That's a good point, Bob. There was some criticism this weekend about the girls' tournament.
The girls are there.
And zero attention.
Right.
No press.
There's a lot of social media traffic about the lack of press coverage at a lot of events. I can tell you the American Legion team has not been covered once since the season started.
Right.
So there's a lot of those issues, and I know we can't be the local newspaper, but we can direct people to our site. They'll know what's going on in town, because there's a lot of things that are happening that people may not be aware of through our local media.
It wasn't because of lack of effort. We were out there in April, and Justin is very tactful, or I'm not, so I'm going to be very brief in the fact that these guys are new. I think they were in 100 different directions. I think Don Susie did a great job before that, so it was probably easier for him. But it wasn't because we weren't all over it. I don't know, but we got it. It was a lost opportunity, and I hate that. And so we do better next year.
Exactly.
Through the chair. I know that the boys, the young men, are coming up the weekend after. Is there any way? Is there a banner that's available to throw over Mix Street or something?
I suggested that back in April, and they told me that all of the advertising sponsorship opportunities were for the National League, the National Little League sponsors, so we were barred out of that. I offered anything.
No, I understand, but there's no saying we can't put something on Mix Street.
In the area, kind of.
Yeah.
To build a billboard in the back of my truck.
Actually, that's an interesting thought, because I think that parking lot, that might be state-owned. We could look into that, though, in the area.
We have a fire station.
Right.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
You know, the ballpark with the fencing across the street.
Across the street.
Also,
Okay.
right down.
It's a good thought.
I
We
think
could
that-
look into
you guys
that.
did hear,
It's
right?
not, it's not,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like you'll never use that banner again. I mean,
No.
Oh, no, yeah, that's why we have it, yeah.
Okay.
You know, we have community
Good
people,
thought.
the Bob Biendellas and those kind of guys who probably could impact that, even on a national level. If sometimes you gotta make sure you know who should make the call,
Mhm.
because that's crazy. That's awful that we don't do that. That's not happening. I mean, that's shameful. Not because we didn't try, but it's shameful as a result.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, and I can tell you the marketing committee wasn't happy about it either, and a lot of those guys pitched in, and I don't know what happened, so.
We can make a couple calls.
Yep. We got the letter from the mayor last week, so we can use that as our reference point.
Is that the report for today?
no, maybe just one more suggestion, I'm sorry. I know we're running on, but is there anything that maybe we can put something at the Doubletree, a pamphlet or something, all hard directing them where other sources are, resources are?
Maybe like some sort of a tourism themed thing. We've been talking about that. Yeah, let us look into that too. They've got a lot of our stuff there. They put up our All Heart. They were one of the first to put up the All Heart winter decal and stuff. But that's obviously a hot place for us. So
Yeah, like something you just have around when you check in. It's right there. You just grab it.
Okay. Yep.
You know, if you guys, I'm just thinking, all of us guys should think out loud about this stuff. Like, this is one of the bigger events in Bristol where people come from out of town. I think more people come out of town for that weekend, from out of town.
Come into
Into Bristol.
Yeah.
17,000.
Yeah, and you know, if you're not making progress like by March, you know, this committee maybe should know about it. We got to make some phone
Yeah.
calls because we can't let this stuff happen.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Yeah.
Because you know the mayor, if the mayor would go down there, he'd do a face-to-face easy, and we can get the right people like the Fiendellas and some of these guys who helped build the place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the national officers haven't changed that much, Mike. You know, so they remember from when we built it. You know,
The national contributions they're making.
oh yeah. Okay. Enough said. Right?
Yep.
Any other business to come before the committee?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion said. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.